Welcome to Our Business Shenanigans, where strategy meets sarcasm and entrepreneurship gets real. Hosted by Jen and Nicole, best friends and cleaning business owners turned accidental mentors. This podcast dives into the wild ride of running a business, the wins, the failures, and the moments that make you question everything. Here, we get real about leadership, growth, burnout, boundaries, and all of the behind-the-scenes stuff no one talks about, with a healthy dose of sarcasm and storytelling, of course. If you're here for raw conversations, practical insights, and a healthy dose of business mischief, then you're in the right place. No fluff, no filters, just the truth, the laughs, and the lessons. This is Our Business Shenanigans,
where strategy meets sarcasm and entrepreneurship gets real. I'm Jen.
And I'm Nicole. Welcome back to Our Business Shenanigans, the podcast where we say the stuff your overpriced consultant won't. All right, friends, now buckle up. Today's episode is for every business owner who's ever hired someone and immediately regretted it. We're calling this one How to Not Suck at Hiring, because let's be real, most of us have sucked at it at some point.
Yeah, hiring isn't a vibe, it's a system. And if you keep hiring disasters, maybe it's time to change your approach. Let's talk about all the red flags, hiring fails, and what actually works.
So let's talk about why you probably suck at hiring.
Yeah, so common mindset mistakes. One big one is hiring out of desperation. When you get to the point where you are just so overwhelmed and you have to have somebody right away, definitely a terrible time to start hiring. Ignoring your gut feelings, skipping vetting just to get help, and overlooking red flags. If you're hiring to solve burnout but not using a process, you're just inviting new problems to your door. You may as well just say, must have a pulse on your job ad.
And when your standards are based on being short-staffed instead of team culture, that's a big red flag. And you can't fix your burnout by hiring a warm body who's going to call out on day 2. And desperate hires cost more than open positions every single time.
Yep. I know that I have been in a place numerous times, more than I care to admit, where we are hiring out of desperation. And it's not a good place to live. Like, I would much rather be overhired and overstaffed than understaffed.
It got to the point where we needed like 5 techs immediately. And we kind of made some exceptions and brought in a few maybes. And after like a month, my office manager asked me, she was like, can we please stop hiring maybes? Because they never work out. If they're not a hard yes in the interview, they're not going to work out. And it's just more headache dealing with it.
Yep, absolutely. Michelle Kruger, our friend, always tells me anytime I ask her a question, is it a yes or is it a no? Because if it's a maybe, it's a no. If it's not a yes, then it's a no.
I love that. So let's talk about what a real hiring system looks like.
Yeah, so you've got to have that role clarity before posting. You've got to have pre-screening questions and tests, value-aligned interview process and reference checks, and onboarding that doesn't end on day 1. So what does role clarity look like? I want to just kind of touch base on a few of these before we move on. That means you know what this person needs to be doing at your office. For us, it's cleaning technicians. So they have to know what they're going to be doing. They have to know what their best day is going to look like, really, and kind of their worst day is going to look like, and what's expected of them from that job. I'm waiting for some banter from you.
Sorry, I was letting you roll. But you want to have pre-screening because let's be honest, I think it was like a 4 or 5 month span. It was like 5,600 applicants, right? It's when we needed like 5 people tomorrow kind of deal. And out of all those applications, it was like 750 interviews. And could you imagine if we offered an interview to all of those people, we wouldn't have found the people that were a good fit for us.
Right.
A big knockout were the pre-screenings. So you'd be surprised how many people don't actually read the job ad. They read like the pay part and then they keep going, right?
Right. Oh, I want to apply for that job.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the basics. What are your deal breakers? Like for us, you have to be a certain age. You have to have a vehicle. You have to have a license. There's so many things that can be a deal breaker. So we have those deal breaker questions in our application process so that it filters for us. Now, the people that pass, yes, I would rather give 100% of my time to the 50% that passes than only giving them 50% because 50% of my time was dealt with filtering through applications for people that didn't even qualify for the requirements listed in the job ad.
Right. Exactly. And imagine the amount of time it would have taken you to sift through all of those applicants, all of those people, if they even made it to interview, which, most of them wouldn't show up anyway, but you'd be wasting time going through applications of people who would never show up to an interview anyway.
And by the time that I got to the people that did qualify, they probably would have found a different job.
Yeah. Yeah. So then next, you do need to have a value aligned interview process. So we've talked a lot. We had a whole episode on core values. What do your core values look like? Come up with questions that are based around your core values, because you want to hire somebody on your team that fits into your core values.
And please do not skip this one. Do reference checks.
And not just
We
like their
always-
personal references where they're like, oh, hey, my best friend will vouch for me. Like, actually call the places where they work.
We always confirm. We have a whole step-by-step guide on how to complete a reference check for my office. And the first step is confirming that the phone number listed for the reference matches what Google says.
Yeah, that's
So
a
many
good one.
people, so many people will give a phone number for somebody else, or you name it, right? So we avoid that. We still call the number, but we confirm. We're confirming everything because we want to be sure that we're not hiring somebody that was being deceitful about their job history, because that's a huge red flag.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And then once you do move forward with them, you have to understand that onboarding doesn't end on day one. You can't just hire them and let them go. Like, there's got to be something that comes after that.
What do you
But
mean? She can clean her house and does great. Why can't she go clean my clients?
she loves cleaning her own house. That's amazing. It does great. But we wanted to say all of that stuff because we wanted to really double down on the fact that posting the job ad is like step 5, not step 1. Like, you need to have all of these other things in place before you can post that job.
And if you're operating, I think specifically like in the service industry, especially, your customers come to expect like a certain level of consistency. So that training period or even having like a training built out is so important, because how many times when you're winging it, have you said something and then like later on it hit you like, oh, I forgot to cover this, or oh, I forgot to mention this. So if you don't have it outlined, you're just winging it. And when you're just winging it, something's slipping through the cracks and there's something missed, and your clients would be on the receiving end of that disorganization.
You mean I can't run my vacuum cleaner over a puddle of cat pee? I'm not allowed to do that?
No, and you can't run the vacuum cleaner over the cord either.
What? That's my favorite thing to do.
You really like fire hazards. But now let's talk about your ad. Your job posting is your dating profile, right? If it's boring or unclear, you're going to match with the wrong people. And I really want to highlight that. That's great that we're comparing it to a dating profile, because I would hate to bring somebody on selling them this unrealistic dream of what the job looks like. Like, hey, you get to stay home and don't even have to clock in and you get paid for it. That's not how it
Right.
works. So you have to be
Right.
honest, right? Because you want the people that are actually attracted to the job and not the dream.
Yeah.
You need to repel the wrong people as much as you attract the right ones.
Right. Yeah. That's super important. No catfishing when it comes to jobs. In your ad, you need to talk real pay, not like, oh, hey, on your best week ever, when you've done all of these things and the moon and the stars align, you're going to make $2,000 a week. That's ridiculous. You need to talk about real pay in your ad, real expectations, and real culture. Don't list things like must be detail oriented and then ghost people during the process. Be who you say you are.
I see so many people post, especially in the cleaning world. They'll put things like must be dependable, must have a good attitude. Da, da, da. I don't put those in my job ad, because those are the no-brainers. Like, I'm putting the real requirements for the job ad. Anything else is somebody can give me that representative, right? I don't want that. I want to see your authentic self to see if you actually fit with our team. Otherwise, you're going to be miserable. I'm not going to bring you on board for you just to be miserable.
Yeah, exactly. That's the last thing you need, because then they make everybody else miserable. So next week, once you've posted your ad and you're bringing in people, you got to start screening like a savage. Have a process that filters and not flatters. Like, you don't want people to come and sit in front of you and interview and, puff you up and go, oh, I have to hire this person. Look at how much they love the company. No, you need to get real answers, and you need to have filters for those answers. let the system do the filtering. Just because somebody really wants to work for you, that's not a good enough reason.
Yes, and I've seen so many times where jobs will find a good candidate, but they don't match the availability, or maybe they don't have a license, you name it, and then they try to bend the rules to make it work for that one person. And then the whole company, everybody else is like, well, I want a carpool too and save gas. It creates chaos. So
Yeah.
first you create the position, and then you find the right butt to fill it.
Yep. Yep.
And
Agreed.
you want to use disqualifiers, red flag checklists, trial task, whatever works best for you. We also have a green flag checklist of things to look for in that interview. If they can't follow directions in your application, they're not going to follow your policies either. That
And
is a
you're
big
really
one.
great about that one, like with your whole
We,
process of how you get them in the door.
yes, we have, I'm not going to share it all on this, but we have very detailed, um, we can tell who follows directions and who doesn't before they even sit in front of us for the interview. We send them several reminders. We tell them where to park, little things. And if they don't follow those steps, you're probably not going to be you're not going to be able to navigate the technology of the app that we use and the things like that. So we have filters kind of in place to help us with that.
Right. And I love how you ask a lot too. um, with technicians that already work for us, if every technician acted that way, would it create chaos amongst your whole team? I feel the same way about applicants. If you bring in an applicant and you're like, oh, but they seem okay, there's just a couple red flags. But if everybody on your team had those same red flags, would that be chaotic? If so, then that's probably not the person you want to move forward with.
Everything that I do in my business, I try to first check the box, is this scalable? And if we are leading on emotion or making decisions based on emotion, it's going to essentially bite me in the ass later, right?
So, real
Because
quick, not everybody uses the same terminologies we do. What do you mean when you say, is this scalable, for people who may not understand that?
can we grow that? Is this something that would be self-sustaining in my absence? Can we grow with this? Um, So my biggest thing is I don't want to tell, like, because I don't do the interviewing or the hiring, right? So I don't want to tell the person doing that, like, oh, you can make an exception for this or that or this. I have to give them a clear guideline, because what's going to end up happening, say I go on vacation for a month and I come back and then they hired all these people. It's like, well, why would you hire them? I wouldn't have hired them. Their answer is going to be because I didn't have a clear process or a checklist to follow, or you told me to make exceptions for so and so and it worked out. I didn't know, things like that. So you have to really hone in on what is acceptable and not.
Yeah. We've had that bite us in the butt before too. And most of that's my fault. I take ownership in that because I'm the queen. I'm the queen of going, oh, just give them a chance.
You think everybody's so nice, and then you do their background check and they have like 10 murder charges.
Oh my gosh,
So
it's ridiculous. We just had somebody the other day that we're like, yeah, we should move forward with them. And then we did the background check, 21 infractions. 5 of them were theft, 3 were prostitution, and like 2 other ones were like fleeing an officer or something like that. I was like, clearly not a good fit. That's why we do
I
background
don't
checks, because
know.
I'm
I
not a
think you
good
should take your chance. Everybody
I am not a
deserves a
good check
second
taker.
chance.
Right.
So let's
Um,
talk about some red flags that you shouldn't ignore. Jen, you should probably take notes on this one.
I should.
Um, One of the biggest ones is vagueness or blame in their past work history. One time we had a job, it was so funny. She had in her application, like her past 3 jobs, left one because got in a dispute with the coworker, then left another one because it was too cold in the warehouse, and then left another one because they wouldn't let her sit down when she was operating the machine. I guess it was like a warehouse. And I'm just like, but she didn't, it was not, I found a better opportunity, you name it. It was
Right.
just always like that job was wrong. We see it all the time where people say that management was showing favoritism and they couldn't stand it, so they walked out. Like, I see that all the time. And I'm like, were they showing favoritism or were you being the problem?
Right. Are you the common
So
denominator?
Yeah.
We've had people leave like that before where everything we did was wrong and they were just all right. And they
But
decided to
I
tell
will
everybody.
add, we are gracious in the sense that I understand I come from a background where my previous job was a very toxic workplace. It's actually what inspired me to start my business. And so I got to see what it was. But when I was thinking of alternative options of employment, I didn't go applying places saying, and word vomiting, oh my God, this job
Right.
sucks. And I just said, I'm looking for a different opportunity. And I probably wasn't the most positive person in the world, right? I was probably just mediocre in the
Mhm.
job hunt, but I never despite how toxic the job was, I never took it as an opportunity to just throw their name through the mud, you know?
Right.
Um, Another red flag is job hopping with no accountability. Why do you have every job for 3 months and then you leave?
Right.
And lack of questions during the interview. Um, you really want people that want to know the company that they're applying for. If they're just coming to answer a few questions and then get a paycheck, they're probably not going to be committed. Um, Another one, victim language, because I left because of them stories. There's so many. We've heard them all. Take them with a grain of salt. Um, and especially this one, entitlement without evidence of work ethic.
Yeah.
That's a huge one.
It's a really big one. We have people who come in here before and it's like, oh, they never recognized the work I did. They never did this. They never did that. But at the end of the day, what did you do? Like you showing up for work is the bare minimum. Like, okay, you can come to work every day, but were you a hard worker? Were you going above and beyond? Were you a team player? Like all of the stories that go behind it. You can't just throw a blanket statement out there without proof of the things that you did because I don't know, maybe you called out 12 times and you didn't think that was excessive, but they did.
A big thing that I've seen, especially in the restaurant world, years ago, many moons ago, I worked in a restaurant, and there were so many people that thought they were the best because they would do things in the back or, run food, whatever. But it's like when you neglect your job duties that you are assigned for because you're doing all these extra, you might as well just not even work there because the job you were hired for, you are not completing.
Right. Yeah. So if somebody talks trash about every past job, they're going to do it about yours too.
And red flags in the interview are amber alerts for your business.
Basically. So
Now,
I wanted to interject real quickly. I know we didn't plan for this in the notes, and I'm sorry to throw this out there on you, but you mentioned you also have green flags that you look for. Do you have a couple that you could share with us really quick?
yeah, absolutely. That's a really good question. So we have a list of things to look for. First off, we do not want the person that is super chatty, right? They tend to be the most distracted at work. We want somebody that is personable, that has clear communication, but sometimes they're a little timid. Maybe they're just, you have to go back to, one of your job interviews in the past, you're probably a little nervous because this whole interaction could determine whether you have this job or not. So it is a little
Hmm.
nervous. You want the people that when they have a little bit of nerves behind it and they're not overly cocky, they probably really care about this experience in the job. And when people tell me things that they saw on our website, now I have heard so many people fake what they heard, and I'm like, you didn't see that on our website, but whatever. I don't say that, right? But I
Yeah.
have heard that. But when they genuinely like talk about things like I saw that you clean for cancer patients and when they are conversational, but then they don't get off topic. If we're 10
Right.
minutes into this interview and I've only asked you one or two questions, that's a red flag for me. So, somebody that is clear and concise and straight to the point, but also personable, right? Um, I'm trying to think of the list of the green flags. Dressed appropriately, could find the building. I mean, you name it. There's so many green flags that we have. It could be down to they arrived on time for their interview. Those are the
Right.
green flags that you want. If somebody
And
found
follow
the building,
directions.
parked in the correct spot, they were able to sign in with the QR code. That means they probably have somewhat of a knowledge of technology where they could access our systems and thrive. But
Right.
if they completed all the steps without me having to hold their hand and remind them 3 times, they probably are a good hire because they followed several directions with no issue.
Yeah. No, I love that. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, of course.
So
Now let's talk
now we
about
can move on to,
interviewing. Yeah. Sorry, interviewing
nope, go
without
ahead.
the BS. So
Yep.
stop asking the same recycled questions. Tell me about your weaknesses. No thanks. Ask them what they would do when a client flips out instead. So we
Yeah.
have that kind of built in our training. We have character building day built
Yeah,
into
yeah,
our
yeah,
training.
yeah.
So with
I love
our
that.
character building day, one of them is where the trainer is supposed to miss something and then have the trainee check behind them. And it could be something small, but they're doing the checklist and you want them to point it out. First off, you want to show them how to address this. But then the trainer is instructed to make sure they say, "Thank you so much for catching that. I'll go ahead and fix that now." Because we are showing them how to respond to constructive feedback.
Right. Yeah,
And
I love that.
and then in one day, they're supposed to be a little bit harder on them if they miss things, vacuuming, not in a way that would scare them away, but a very soft version. I always compare it to if this person can't handle you asking them to revacuum a room because they missed some crumbs, how are they going to handle the angry husband that didn't even want to hire us and the wife did
Mhm.
anyways, and he's nitpicking everything? If you can't handle me who's been with you all week telling you you missed a few spots, how are you going to act to this guy you don't know?
Yep. Yep. Or even just the constant, at least with us, our technicians see the scorecards every day. Sometimes they have an off day and they get, three, hey, they missed this, hey, they missed that, hey, nothing major, like nothing, nobody's screaming or anything like that. But if they can't handle you correcting them the first week, they're certainly not going to be able to handle all of those little corrections throughout the work week that they get from our clients either. Most of them are great and most of them are fours and they love them and everything like that. But, everybody has an off day.
Yeah.
Um, Asking situational questions, tone checks, and small talk traps, like you talked about. If they are super chatty, they're probably not going to be a good fit, especially in our world, because you don't want them talking to the client for an hour and a half before they even start cleaning. Like that is going to just throw the entire day off. So making sure that you do those types of checks. If they're rude to your admin or show up late, that's the interview. You've already had your answer. This is somebody putting their best foot forward, walking through your door to interview for a job. If their best foot forward is that they are late and they're rude to the people in your office because, they're questioning them being late or something like that, then you already have your answer. That's not going to be a good fit for your company.
My favorite is I've had people call and we've had a few weeks ago, I answered the phone. My whole office was busy and I had time for it. So I answered the phone and this woman was like gaslighting me. And she was like, "I went to the address y'all sent me to, and I don't know where I'm at." And so like I'm asking these questions, trying to identify if she's outside or not. And I was like, "Okay, and so what do you see in front of you?" She goes, "I don't know. I'm at the address you sent me." Ma'am, with all due respect, if you went to the address that we sent you, then you would see our building. So you
Right.
didn't. So, but
But also,
I didn't say it like
how do
that.
you not know what you're looking at? Like if you're
Mind
looking out the
you,
front of your window.
this call came in like 15 minutes past the interview time, by the way. It got to the point where I told her we didn't have time to interview. She was so rude and nasty that it got to the point that I told her we didn't have time to interview her today. She can reschedule. Don't think she did. I think she got the hint, but you're not going to gaslight me and then think I'm going to give you a job for it.
Yeah, no, I don't understand that. We every once in a while, because we moved about a year and a half ago. Sometimes online, if they just put in our name, it will still take them to the old address. So we make allowances for that because I can't even find where they're finding it, but I don't know, somehow they do. But other than that, there's not really any reason for you to be late for the interview. If you really want to be here, I don't care. Come sit 45 minutes in our parking lot waiting for the time to start. Although we did have somebody who did that one day. Did I tell you about this? And he came in 30 minutes late and we were like, the interview is already over. It started 30 minutes ago. We're already done. And he's like, yeah, I'm so sorry. I was here early, but I fell asleep in my car.
I love that. Super dependable.
I
Um,
was like, what are we supposed to do with that?
we had a guy that was blowing us up. I mean, he called like 3 or 4 times. asking like, "Where's the application? Da da da, da, and how much do I pay?" Like he asked so many questions, and we're like, "Please just schedule the interview." And so he
Everything
scheduled
is
the
in the
interview,
job
and
ad
then
too.
he called to let us know he scheduled the interview. He'll see us tomorrow. We're like, "Okay, great. We will see you tomorrow." Mind you, this is like our fourth or fifth time on the phone with this guy. Next day comes. I think he responded to the text, that the reminder. And then a week later, I kid you not, walks into our office and says, "I had an interview last week." And we were like, did you complete it? And he was like, "No, I didn't come." And we're like, okay. Like he just walked into our office and it's like,
And
what do
now
you
what?
want me to do with this information? Like
I
yeah,
wonder if
we've
that
seen
has
it all.
ever worked. Like, has that ever worked? You walked in,
Absolutely
I
not.
missed the interview.
That
I missed the interview last week. Will you hire me? Oh,
that
absolutely.
works for
Let's
the
just go sit down
people
and fill out the paperwork.
That works for the people without a hiring system that just need bodies and they are hiring out of desperation. They're like, "Yes, put on an apron. I'm sending you to a house right now. I'll get your
Yes.
social later," you know?
Yes. Which the people that are hiring out of desperation is another thing that gets under my skin on social media is when you see some of these cleaning companies, and God love them, I know that they mean well. And I just, every time I see a post like this, I want to just call them up and go, "Please don't do that. You don't understand how that makes your company look." When you see those posts, "Hey, I had somebody call out last minute for tomorrow. I just need help. Who can show up and help me?" Who can show up and help you go into somebody's house, just some stranger off the internet? These aren't like, you're not just posting it on your personal page where you're like reaching out to your friends and family. These are ones that we see in groups where they're asking for somebody just to come and help clean tomorrow. That's so scary. Like, you're going to take somebody, a complete stranger that you've never even met in person, to have you go help clean somebody else's house. It's insane. Please don't do that. That's my
It happens
soapbox
all the time.
all the
It
time.
happens all of the time. And that's its own episode.
It is.
I have a lot of
We need to
opinions
write that
about
down.
that.
Yeah, we need to write that down. So anyway, back from digressing, let's talk about protecting your company with a real trial period once you have hired this person. So what does that look like? You need to talk about probation with them, your expectations, performance tracking. The hire isn't final until they've proven that they aren't a walking liability. And we don't mean, I need to stress this, we do not mean working interviews. That is not a thing. It's not legal in most states. We're not talking about working interviews. We're talking about having a probationary period. For us, it's that first week of training. When we bring them in, we let them know, "Hey, we know almost 90% of the time by day 3 if this is going to be a good fit. If it's not going to be a good fit, it is our responsibility to let you know so that you can still continue your job search and we don't interrupt that job search. We are trying to do you a favor and the company a favor, because if it's not going to work out, I would rather it happen now than 6 months from now when you have to start that job search over all over again."
And be clear about training timelines and feedback loops and exit routes. And just so you know, hope is not a strategy. Test before you trust. And the test before you trust, that doesn't mean, like Jen said, that doesn't mean working interviews. It means give them a clear guideline that you have 30 days, no attendance infractions. If they can't follow that, I cannot stress that one enough. Anybody that has called out in our 30-day probation period that we made an exception for, we ended up firing within 6 months due to attendance every single time. So that is a deal breaker for us. Now,
Yep, I agree.
let's dive into some real hiring fails. This is going to be our story time. So, um, I have one. I have someone that came to me with years and years of experience. This was years ago, and years of experience, and she just wanted a job, you name it. Um, every day when we worked together, her car broke down shortly after, so I started giving her a ride. And every day when she got out of my car, this is back when I was in the field, I remember I would grab my steering wheel and shake it and like say every profanity you could think of because I was so miserable working with her because she was just so miserable. And the person that I interviewed versus the person that I worked beside were night and day. I mean, the most miserable person, no accountability, and all that cleaning experience that she told me that she had. If you're a real cleaner, you can tell. You you miss the bottom of every toilet. You don't get the tops of the microwave. Like the little things, it's like she supposedly had her own business for a few years, and it's like looking back, I'm like, there's no way.
That's why she doesn't have a business anymore.
Well, we know that now. This was many, many years ago.
Yeah.
This was pre-coaching group, so
Right. We had a girl that we hired, and I know I'm a big proponent who says that not all common sense is created equal because we're all raised with different backgrounds. I 100% get that. But we had a cleaning tech who came to us, had tons of cleaning experience, had worked with vacation rentals, everything. And I had to teach her that to use a magic eraser, that it has to be wet.
I mean, it doesn't work like a pencil eraser.
No, it does not. Not at all. Like, and again, in our world, that's like, how do you have cleaning experience if you don't even know a sponge, regardless of what type of sponge? A magic eraser is a sponge, needs to be wet in order to work, right? So that was a red flag. But we had another interview where this was at our old office. The girl showed up and walked in and sat down, and she was so high, like she couldn't even stay awake to be interviewed. My office manager Amanda went in there to sit down and interview her, and she looked at her for a second and she goes, I can't interview you. Like you can't even keep your eyes open. And the girl the girl looked at her and was like, "Are you serious?" And Amanda was like, "Yeah." She's like, "This, like, we're just gonna call it." And the girl gets up to leave. And literally as she's leaving, I'm in the back room calling the police because I know that she's gonna get in her car and drive away, and I can't live with that on my conscience. So I was already calling the police department. But as she goes to leave, she goes to open our door, and she opens it and hits herself in the face with it. And then stands there for a second stunned, and then stumbles out into the parking lot, which is not very big, and struggles to find her car. So,
We know a few people like that.
yeah. But I did my due diligence. We called the police, and they took care of it from there. But yeah, it's amazing. Like we've said, if somebody is interviewing with you, that interview is their best foot forward. If that is their best foot, it's all downhill from there.
That's what my office manager says, and that's why she won't hire people that wear Crocs. We have this debate all the time because I'm like, I love Crocs, right? I don't even have any right now, so I haven't worn them in forever. But I'm like, I don't have a problem with Crocs. And she's like, if that is all you have to wear to an interview, I don't like it. And she says that this is supposed to be your best foot forward.
Crocs are expensive. You need to let her know that. They're practically dress shoes.
To wrap things up, don't be lazy, be intentional.
Correct. Hiring right will save you money, drama, and your sanity.
And A players want to work with A teams. Don't build a C team just because you're in a hurry. Audit your processes, get ruthless about who you let in, and stop settling. You've got this.
Yep, absolutely. This is a quick episode, but I think it was really good. I really like this one.
Yeah.
I think we say that every time.
Yeah, we might be a little biased, but now, if you've enjoyed this episode, follow us, share this episode with a few fellow business owners who keep hiring dumpster fires.
And remember, if your hiring process sucks, it's probably not the candidates, it's you. So fix it.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, guys.